It's springtime here in Northern California, and we've got lots of baby plants that we're getting going. Most of them are inside, but we've got a few starting outside, like these baby raspberries, which are going to get planted in the ground. And I'll show you the ones that we've already planted. These are peas in these big 100-gallon pots, which we'll use later in the summer to grow other plants, but we're starting some peas in them because that's a good early crop, and it's also a nitrogen fixer, so it'll improve the soil. Now we've got a new arrangement, these large pots here, which we're going to grow sweet potatoes in this year. And in the beds, we've got some starts inside under lights of some cabbages that are going to go in here. And I think Bianca was talking about spring onions in these beds as well. Since we're growing a lot of vegetables indoors, we're kind of focusing the crops outside a little bit on the ones that we can really maximize outside that are big, like cabbages and zucchini. These are some more peas in these pots, which later will be planted with zucchini and down in this open area. These are all my tomato pots, which are not prepared yet. They go over here underneath this trellis, and I've got to improve this a little bit. I'm running a new system with a steel cable across the trellis and a new vining system that will allow me to maximize the tomatoes all season, and that's going to be really interesting to see. So stay tuned for future videos to see the tomato trellis setup, because tomatoes are real big plants. Carry this soil up the hill, and let's go look at what I'm doing today. And what you do is you tie the tomatoes up, and as they grow, the fruits stop producing on the bottom of the plant. So as the tomato grows, the fruits are kind of further and further along the vine. And so what you can do is kind of coil the vine down around the pots and let the plant continue to grow up. And you do that with a top-down string system, which I did my own strings last year, but this is, each tomato has its own spool of string, which will, allow me to continue to let the string out and let the vine go down as the plant grows up. So with an indeterminate variety, which we have two, cherry tomatoes and Rebelski beefsteak tomatoes. Those are both indeterminate varieties, which will just keep growing endlessly. So I can really get a lot of tomatoes off of that with that coil system. And it'll work with the determinate varieties too. So we're gonna see how that goes. I took a stop here to rest and take a look at the fennel. This is some fennel that was in pots last year, and we transplanted it. I don't know if you could see the wispy kind of fennel growth. There's two happy little baby fennels here, and I figured that would be a good one to put next to the fence, and it's doing all right. So I'm going up the hill the long way because I'm carrying a heavy bag of soil. I'm going to show you what we're doing today. We're planting grapes. So this is how we plant grapes in a backyard setting. Here is some mint that's just waking up from its winter sleep. Yeah, just planted that. Now let's take another pause by the raspberries. Baby raspberry. You can see those leaves. These are brand new plants, And the way I'm planting the raspberries is a little different from the grapes. We're doing 18-inch holes and lining them with the hardware fabric to protect them from the gophers, because we definitely have gophers. And we're using a mix of the local clay that we're digging out of the holes mixed with high-end potting soil. So with the grapes, I'm not lining it with the hardware cloth. The grapes, we dug 2-foot holes, so they're 2 feet by 2 feet and 2 feet deep, and then filled with some gravel on the bottom. I put in just an inch or so of the local gravel that I'm sifting out of the soil, and all that pea gravel, 6 inches deep. And then we're sifting the local soil. I'm sifting it through this grate, and that gives me this kind of clay soil, which, you know, clay is actually all organic material, so that's actually fertilizer for the long term. And mixing that with our Fox Farm, running out of Fox Farm, so we're supplementing it with the Black Gold, which has a time release fertilizer and forest products, you know, cedar mulch and whatnot. And then the Ocean Forest, which is earthworm castings and bat guano, as well as the forest product. So that's a real good mix. And then for watering, I'm running a line up the hill to this 30-gallon trash can, and then I've got a dual zone timer on that, and it'll be a gravity feed, so one line will feed the grapes and one line will feed the raspberries. And when the timer goes off, probably every 5 days, I'll feed these plants. And the grapes are getting these high-end watering stakes, which is the preferred method for grapes. So they'll actually get watered down in around the root zone. You put those about a foot out from the plant, so they'll be right in the edge of this pot, you know, probably a couple of inches in like that, and it'll get a good soaking. Probably a little more than once a week is my guess, especially around here in the summer. It might be twice a week. And then the last part is the trellising, which I'm doing a little lower on the raspberries. We've got this big tall 8-foot posts on the grapes, and I'll have some wires in between these so that the grapes can climb up on the wires. So these will be kind of connected diagonally, these two, and then those two next to each other. And so it's a little bit on a curve, because that's where we could find a flat enough place on the slope to put the holes and still work on them. There's an old deer path that goes along here, so that's our access. And also I found that the best flat places already had the little local manzanita and this little local perennial, and those local plants knew where to go. So we displaced some of those, but we've got grapes coming, and it'll be a real nice view from the back of the house. Yeah. All right, so now I've got to fill up the rest of these holes.